All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Sorry, we're running a couple minutes late, having a couple technical difficulties, but just getting up and running. Super excited to be joined today by the Diversant team, and excited to have all of you guys here. A couple housekeeping items while people are filtering in. If you have any questions at all, drop them into the chat on the side. We will answer them as we're going, or if we can't, we'll try to get to them at the end of the webinar. And also, second, just thank you guys all for being here. Super excited to have the opportunity to talk with you guys, and very grateful to have Jim and Amy on the line with us. So today we're going to be talking about how you can source passive talent, improve the candidate experience, and increase recruiter productivity with automated referral management software. I, again, am grateful to be joined by Jim Yoshimuro, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Diversant, and Amy Lascola, who's the VP of Enterprise Delivery at Diversant. I am David Falwell, President and Founder of Staffing Referrals, and super excited to be talking with all of you today. To kick things off, Jim, if you would just give us a little bit of background on Diversant.
Yes. So first of all, Diversant, I guess I would say, was a $250 million IT staffing company. But is in December, late December of last year, we were acquired by ACS Solutions. So together, I think it makes us the fourth or fifth largest IT staffing company in the country now. So we're super excited because we can take some of the things we've been doing, like our progress with staffing referrals, and hopefully roll it out across all of ACS. They're just as excited about the platform because they know that referrals are important, just as important to them as they were to us.
Awesome. And with that, I mean, I've one thing that I'm excited about today is the Diversant team, working with them over the last year and a half, has been just a case study and best case example of how to implement, how to integrate, how to bring on new software, and also just been a joy to work with. And it's pretty great to see the growth that they've had over the years as well. So briefly on, I'm sorry, Jim.
I was going to say thank you for the compliment. Really, we just messed up a lot of things, so we learned the hard way.
So just real quick on who Staffing Referrals is. We are a software that helps you source, engage, and place candidates faster. If you're having trouble finding qualified candidates, we can help. We are the #1 automated referral management platform designed for staffing agencies, and we work across all specialties in the staffing industry. Just to show you a couple examples of who we work with, we're with large and small agencies, and really what we found is if you make referrals easy, you automate the promotion, and you incentivize the referral bonus, you will in fact get more referrals from your talent pool. So with that, we're going to start a little bit with the kind of the result first. This is during conversations with Jim, he's been talking about what the results have been with the platform, and maybe if you want to just comment on this, Jim, kind of what you've seen over the last year and a half.
Yeah, I think ultimately, we believe in these things in terms of their value to the enterprise, but it's always important, right, to actually measure things, to measure the results that you've gotten versus the investment that you've made. And so far, and we feel like we're just getting started at the tip of the iceberg. So far, our return to investment ratio is about 40-1, and so we're very pleased with that. And I think there's only going to go up from here because we're just getting started in our journey of understanding how to take all these great candidates we're getting and turn more and more of them into placements.
Awesome. And with that, and thank you for that comment, Jim. And it's been great working with you over the last year. Today, what we're going to talk about as we jump into kind of the meat of the presentation, we're going to talk about what has changed in staffing over the last few years. Then we're going to talk about how Diversant has increased recruiter productivity and improved the candidate experience. And then lastly, we're going to talk about why referrals are the most valuable, specifically for Diversant. And then also, we're going to go through some of the steps that Amy and Jim recommend when implementing new staffing software. So first of all, when it comes to what has changed in staffing, as most of you know, where you find talent has changed, how you find talent has changed over the years. I mean, we used to be in person, then it was newspaper and mail, then to online job boards. And now there is not an agency that we talk with that doesn't have some form of omni-channel sourcing strategy in place. And when we talk about kind of the omni-channel sourcing strategy or the newer sourcing strategies, we're seeing agencies shift from job boards towards referrals, from their website to social, and from cold calls to more automation and programmatic. And really what it comes down to is kind of the old way or the historical way is focusing 100% on the job board, which job boards are always going to continue to be part of the industry, part of the business, and a key part of where you find talent. The one issue with job boards is when you source from a job board, you are finding the exact same talent and going after the same talent pool that your competitors are. It is it's not passive talent. It's only people that are out there looking for the job, which isn't always the best candidate. And what we're seeing, a lot of agencies are coming to us and saying, hey, we recognize we spent the last 10 years or 20 years building this talent pool. We have this amazing database of candidates and we have these great relationships. How do we get more placements from the relationships and database we currently have? And part of that is by leveraging your unique network to drive referrals and get candidates and activate passive candidates that you wouldn't have found otherwise. So with that, one of the stats that kind of was astounding to me when I first started, but it was from Staffing Hub last year. So that on average, this is across all agencies of all sizes, but on average, agencies are spending $112,000 per year with job boards. And yet I would guess everybody in this presentation would agree with me that referrals are still the most cost-effective and differentiated source of qualified talent. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is that they can be up to 55% faster to hire. They can increase retention by up to 70%, and they can save up to $3,000 versus a traditional job board hire. And Jim, you had a couple comments on your belief in referrals. If you just wanted to kind of comment on this here.
Yeah, I think it's everybody probably participating who works in the staffing industry knows this is why do we ask for referrals, right? We ask for referrals because somebody we know and hopefully have some confidence in refers someone they know. And when people refer a candidate to a firm or to an opportunity, they're going to refer people that they believe are going to do a good job, right? That it's not just they have the technical skills necessary, but that they have the attributes, right? Their work ethic is good, they're dependable. And they're not going to refer people who are the opposite of that. So obviously, we all believe that the quality of the candidate is a lot higher, and that's something you don't know when you're just getting to meet somebody or talk to a candidate that you just found in a job board or another or social media site that's completely unknown to you, right? You don't know the soft attributes of the candidate, and that's what referrals are all about: is improving the quality of the candidate in areas above and beyond their technical skills. Amy, I don't know if you want to make a comment about that.
No, I can't agree more. I mean, people don't always trust companies when they're talking about themselves, right? And so it's the voice of the people that are actually out there doing the job. And we use the term brand ambassador. And I think that's what's the big joy of working with David and working with this tool is that we have individuals that are out doing marketing for us besides our marketing department. And we have a great marketing department, and she may actually be on this phone, so hello. But bottom line, we know that people out talking about us that are actually doing the job in the market is such a huge, that candidate is worth more, right? And it's because our competitors may not have that candidate. And that's what's been so exciting about working with David and team is taking this product and kind of making it our own and using it in our own version and coming up with some great results from it.
Love it. And with that, so we're going to kind of jump in now to kind of the meat of the presentation. One of the first things that Amy and Jim and I have all had conversations around is, why did Diversant decide to implement referral software in the first place? And Jim, if you wanted to kind of kick it off and talk about your thoughts on why you decided to go down this path.
Yeah, I think, well, this all started up a couple of years ago because we were, from a management standpoint, one day we woke up and said, guess what? We've got to do a better job of driving referrals because we know those are better quality candidates. And we had done those kind of things the past before. And honestly, in other companies I've worked for, we always had similar initiatives or campaigns to drive more referrals. The problem that we were talked about, though, is that they were just that. They were campaigns. Sorry about that. I have hold on one second. My dog is outside. Let me put him out.
I think where Jim was headed was we basically, bottom line, we're trying to figure out how to take our referrals up a notch, I guess is what really it boils down to. And so we looked at a couple different software platforms to try to help our initiative. And when we looked at where our source of hire was actually coming from, our source of hire was truly coming from the job boards, from some of our social media platforms, and the referrals and redeployments were not in the top 10. And so our goal was to figure out from a source of hire, how do we get referrals and redeployment in that top 10, knowing that referred candidate is such a differentiator. And so installing this and putting this program and platform in was trying to solve the problem of, we don't want our source of hire to be referrals to be 10th or 11th. We want it to be in the top 5. And for Q4 of 2021 and into Q1 of 2022, we are seeing that referrals and redeployment are taking 4th and 5th spot for source of hire, and sometimes even higher in past quarters. And that's really just by using this product and managing to this product. So Jim, I kind of jumped in while you were taking care of it.
Thank you. Sorry, one of the perils of working from home, so he's safely in another room at this point in time. I just wanted to add is that when we all started this program, one of the important things was we said, how have we done this in the past before? And I can't tell you the number of times I worked for companies where we said referrals are important. So what do? We bring a committee together made of a lot of different people from across the organization. We bring out the old PowerPoint slides that we used to use the last time we looked at this. We tune up the slides. We train our recruiters and salespeople. Maybe we even create some incentives for them. We have campaigns, and we get all excited about it. Referrals get better for a while. And then, over the course of the next 6 months or so, our attention starts to wander and fade. And, we're on to something else that's just as important, to the business at that time. And so we just really felt it was important that what we did with driving more referrals became really part of the day-to-day business. And so it was part of our standard process instead of just another campaign or initiative that we paid attention to for some period of time until we got our focus went onto something else. So we said, okay, if we're going to make it part of the day-to-day process, that means we also want to find some software, right, that helps automate the processes so that many of these things that we had to rely upon people to manually pay attention to become automatic and become really ingrained in how we do business. And that was really driven us to go find a platform. There were some other reasons too, in terms of solving problems with keeping track of payments, right? That had always been a problem with candidates before. They would say, I referred candidates to you. A year later, one of them might say, hey, look, I see they got placed 6 months ago, but I never got paid, right? And we just lost track of those kind of things too. And so part of this as well is all about, not just automating the flow of it, but making sure that we make this all visible to the candidates and the ambassadors who are referring the candidates so they can see the status of the candidates. Have they been submitted? Have they been interviewed? Have they been placed? And when they should expect payment. And that visibility and transparency, I think, lends a lot of credibility to the candidates and to ambassadors wanting to go ahead and submit their referrals to us because they see where things are. They can track it down. And if there's a problem, there's people they can contact to make sure they get paid. And so those are some of the big reasons why we went for an automated solution.
Yeah, those great comments, Jim and Amy as well. And the one thing that we hear all the time is, staffing agencies are like, oh, well, we do this big push once a year, and once a year we get a ton of referrals. Q2 we do this push and referrals go through the roof, and then they die off the rest of the year. And part of what our platform has helped with Diversant is really to standardize it and make sure that there's communication going out at automated marketing and program and content going out at all times. And one of the key things, and I really strongly believe that in the next 3 years, somewhere right now it's a small adoption for digital referrals, and I would guess in the next 3 years, somewhere between 70 to 90% of staffing agencies will have some form of digital referral program or automated referral management platform in place, just because it's kind of the modern way of doing business. And really the reason for that and what we're hearing and what we see is because traditional referral or an analog referral relies on what we call the mental Rolodex. If I were to ask any of you on this call right now, who do you know that wants to work at staffing referrals? You're going to think, all right, well, who do I know that lives in Denver, is looking for a job right now, and wants to work at a tech company? And usually at best, people can come up with 1 to 3 names. And what we do is we're going to give every single person in your network a link, unique link that they can go out and share online so that you access their entire digital network. And the story that Jim and Amy have heard a couple times, but is a good friend of mine that I worked with that I knew 4 years ago, was working for a healthcare staffing agency that was using our product. And during the product testing days, I just asked, hey, take your unique link, share it on Facebook, see what happens. She posted on Facebook, another ER travel nurse applied through the link. I was like, cool, product did what it was supposed to do, got a referral. But then I started digging in a little bit, and I asked her, why didn't you refer your friend? There's a $500 bonus, and the recruiter asked you for a referral. Why did that name not come up? And she responded that she didn't know that person's email address or phone number, and that they were just Facebook friends. They'd worked together 6 months ago. And that's where the light bulb went off in my head. And I realized by giving people this unique link, by giving them a digital network, you are going to get referrals that you would never get by asking directly. You could have asked Mallory 100 times for that referral. That name's never coming up. But because you have the link and access to the digital network, you're reaching talent you wouldn't have otherwise.
David, I can jump in too. That's a great point, because the other thing is that if you go to a recruiter and say, hey, we need to get more referrals, they reach out to their network, however many people that might be, and they send an email and they say, I'm looking for referrals for the skill set. Now, if I go back to that same recruiter a month later and say, hey, we need to keep asking for more referrals, they're going to that same group of people they went to a month ago. Well, that same group of people that they're going to for referrals probably aren't going to generate any different candidates than they might have generated a month before. So, part of what we're trying to accomplish with this is to increase the flow of people that we were asking for referrals from, right? That we had some relationship with. So how do we make that so there's a constant, steady flow of new brand ambassadors, the term that Amy coined, who would find us referrals, as opposed to going back to the same group of people time and time again, who really weren't going to give us any different answers than they gave us the first time.
Awesome. I love that. And that is a key component of it as well. And one thing I always think about is how many people in your LinkedIn network or your Facebook friends do you know are actually looking for a job, and how many actually are looking for a job? There's quite a discrepancy there just in terms of what we know is active and what actually exists. So with that, we're going to jump to the next slide here. And Jim, I know you had some criteria in terms of how, when you started going out and looking at who you're going to partner with and how you're going to select it, what you needed to be in place, if you want to talk to that a little bit.
I think the biggest thing is, first of all the platforms were automated, but a key was integrating with our ATS, right? Because so much of this information is contained in our ATS. We've got to get these candidates back to our recruiters, right? We need to be able to record the fact that the candidate came in because of the referral program and track the progress and feed that back to the referrals platform. So it was critical that the platform be already integrated or could be integrated to our ATS, right? Which was Job Diva. We wanted certainly a company that was focused on referrals, and it wasn't just, an afterthought, right? So that was important too, because, that meant that they would have a bevy of customers that were constantly improving the product. And then most importantly, we wanted a certain kind of philosophy of the partner, which was a company that was, that would partner with us, right? To help us accomplish our goals. No piece of software meets all of our needs out of the box. And so we knew it was important that we'd have to be able to tweak it here and there, work with the company to help integrate it and to build the solution right out of the technology components. And so those are all the things we were looking for, and thankfully we got what we were looking for.
Thanks for the kind words there, Jim.
Well, didn't say it wasn't a struggle, David, but
Well, the other component, which I just think is interesting probably for this audience, is just how did you guys set up your referral program in terms of the rewards, and what does that look like from your guys' perspective? And Amy or Jim, if you want to jump in on this.
Feel free, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and honestly, David, we're going to take credit for this, but it was all you, buddy. So he came up with a great concept, I think, which is, and I'm going to use a word that's not really a word, right? But the referrer and the referee, maybe not a word, both are going to get compensated for the referral. So it's a little bit different than a normal referral process. And we did that to just honestly make it look a little different. And from that, it actually, I don't know if it gamifies it or what you want to call it, David, but it does make it a little bit more fun for the candidates that are referred in are also getting a bonus. And so it encourages them to go out and be brand ambassadors for us. And I know you joke around a lot, Jim, that I love to use that brand ambassador term, but it is such a big thing for me because you think about all our recruiters and all our sales team and you and I and obviously David, really talking about Diversant and what we do. this is now add another 1,500, 1,600 people out talking about us and being our marketing arm. And so you get them into the system, you get them feeling like it's a little bit of a gamification, and they get excited about it, and they're referring some more folks in. So really, the joy of setting up our program. And I also wanted to mention on the last slide, David, where you showed the recruiter pages, those are all customizable. And so I speak a lot about your brand. And it's not just about the name Diversant, but it's the recruiting brand and the recruiting brand that you're setting up. So you can see on this screen, like Cody Fisher, recruiter, you can actually do more customization on there. You can add a quote, and you can add some things that just personalizes the experience, which is a big thing when it comes to recruiting. Recruiting shouldn't be a transaction. It should be a relationship event. And I think this makes it feel like more of a relationship than a transaction using this platform. And also because they're able, the automated integrated, they're able to see when someone is referred in, how they're coming through the process. And so I feel like I work for Diversant, but I'm a big, huge fan of this platform. I feel like I work for you too, David, because it has created quite a buzz for us within our organization, as well as just watching our referral numbers go up has been super exciting.
Awesome. Yeah. And Amy was mentioning the dual-sided bonus, and just a quick note on that is like the psychology behind shifting from just paying the ambassador or the, if I were to refer Amy over and I get paid out, is it really takes it from being kind of a selfish thing where I'm making money referring my friends in to being a win-win where both the applicant, the referral applicant, and the ambassador get paid out. And what it does is it increases the likelihood that it's going to get shared. So if I know that I'm giving my friend something, then I don't feel bad posting that on social media. If I know I'm just making money off of their action, it's a little bit less likely that I'll share it out there. And that's something, regardless of the software you use, that you can actually implement, and highly recommend considering dual-sided referral bonuses.
And David, take credit, because that's not something in my very long staffing career that I've ever heard of. So you need to own credit for that, and we are doing it based on your recommendation.
Well, and it's really 75% goes to the referrer, the brand ambassador, and 25% goes to the candidate, and it gives the candidate a little bit of incentive, right, to respond as well too. So there is that factor.
Yeah, and one point to that, Jim, we actually hear that, it gives the applicant an incentive to respond, and then it also gives their friend a reason to say, hey, I saw you applied. Are you going to take the job? What if you do, what are we going to do with our bonuses? Do you want to go on a trip together? Do you want to out to the bar together? And kind of actually help move it down the funnel a little bit as well.
Well, it's not that big of a bonus. It wouldn't be that much of a trip, but yeah.
a road trip,
Yeah.
Six Flags.
Exactly.
So jumping to the next category, let's talk a little bit about recruiter productivity and automation. I know we've done, there's quite a bit of automation on the back end here. Amy, what would you like to kind of discuss around this?
Well, I'll say that we got kind of creative, David, right? So we were trying to come up with different ways to use the product and the platform. And it became working and partnering with my marketing group and saying, how do we target some of these brand ambassadors, right? So we've got this great group that are bringing individuals into us. Can we look at them by skill set and do specific marketing campaigns for them? And we started doing some just referral marketing on top of this platform, kind of marketing our jobs to our brand ambassadors and hoping that they will then take it and put the links out and do the things that we're asking them to do. And so we've had a great return on that also. I think the biggest thing, and I polled the top 10 recruiters. And what I mean by top 10 is they have the most brand ambassadors, they have the most referral leads, and they have the most placements from the product. And I basically just said, why do you love this product, right? And so a lot of it was the automated features, is that they don't have to actually go out, click the buttons, do the things. A lot of the work is being done on the back end for them, and they're just netting the result. And so productivity wise, obviously we're making more placements because of the tool, and the recruiters feel like it's something they're having to do that they don't have to actually click the button to do things, right? It's being done for them. And so that automated referral marketing is a really, really big deal. And our brand ambassadors, we've actually, sent some Diversant swag out to our top brand ambassadors, because you can actually see on the product who's your top brand ambassadors. And we've got ambassadors that are referring 20, 25 candidates to us. And so that to me is, they've bought into it, right? They're a big believer. And so we're trying to find a way to compensate them. And I always say there's weakness in every program. Our opportunity for improvement is making sure that we're highlighting those brand ambassadors and doing more for them. Maybe even going into market and taking them out for lunch and doing those type of things, because we haven't done that. And so I'll say we're really good at this, but I still see that's the tip of the iceberg, that we actually can do more.
Yeah, and I think you guys have done just an excellent job of configuring the platform. You even had recruiters going out there who were configuring their messaging to make it custom to themselves. And your adoption for the platform has just been amazing. And with that, having over 1,500 brand ambassadors who are actually kind of commission only recruiters going out there helping you find talent for the jobs you're looking for. It's been really amazing to watch the success of it.
Just getting started, David.
I completely agree. And another component, this was actually a feature that you guys kind of helped us create, was an auto qualification component. One of the things that we've learned with the platform over the years is that recruiters don't need more tasks unless they are meaningful tasks. They do not need a bigger to-do list. And sometimes people refer their friends in, but we don't know if their friends are interested yet or not. So one of the things we've added in is a auto qualification component, so that if I refer somebody in with just an email, there's a series of email or text that will go out to ask that person if they're interested, and if they are, to go ahead and fill out this form, complete the application, at which point we would then pass that information over to the recruiter. And it's just something that's been meaningful in terms of helping to improve recruiter productivity. And then Amy, I know you've even you kind of built out a team to help with sourcing and making sure that you're going through to make sure all these people are getting reached out to. Is there anything else you would like to add in terms of the qualification process or how that's going on the referral front?
No, and I think to me, it's like anything, David. We bought the tool. So what is our commitment to the tool, right? And so we joke a lot of, recruiters always want more tools, more job boards, more social media platforms. And we love to invest for our recruiters. I have to say, at Diversant, we probably have more tools for our recruiters than anywhere that I've worked in my tenure. And that's exciting if we're making sure that we're getting the true ROI off the product, right, that we're purchasing. And so we've taken some time to just make sure that we have made this product kind of work for us and added some things to it, like the auto qualify. And even David, I think the other big thing is, before the recruiters will even call a candidate, they're going to see the resume sometimes, because sometimes that referred candidate will actually upload their resume. So these are just some customization things that we've done in partnership with David to make the product even fit better for us. And again, I think still opportunity for us to do things differently and continue to enhance the productivity of the product for us.
Well, one of the things the auto qualification was about was getting the candidate to identify their primary skill sets, right? And those align with the skill sets we use in our ATS. So when the candidate goes in the ATS automatically, it records their primary skill sets. So later on, when recruiters are searching for candidates, right, it will find those candidates based on, if they go, find me all Java developers in a marketplace or something like that. So I think we're trying to really enhance the value of the resumes coming in to the recruiters by making sure that they really understand what skill sets that candidate has, right, and where they came from. So because the recruiters also know if the candidate came in from the referral network too.
Well, that's tied to the campaigns too, Jim. So when we have that skill alignment focus, we then can campaign out to those folks to just market our jobs to them. So there's so many reasons behind us getting that data on the front end so that we can utilize it to push jobs out to these folks. Because we know, everybody knows, a Java role, we need how many candidates? All the candidates, right? And so knowing someone came in that's a Java referral, even if they're not interested in moving forward, we're still going to push things to them, hoping that they have someone that they can refer. It's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right, David, that we're trying to reach. We're constantly, trying to make the product not only incoming, but outgoing, if that makes sense. Outgoing so that we can do outgoing marketing campaigns. We can do outgoing job pushes to specific skill sets. So that's really has helped us.
Awesome. Yeah, and kind of the last part in the recruiter productivity, and I guess this is the overall company kind of in productivity as well, but one of the things the platform has offered is the ability to kind of track, manage, and scale the entire referral platform. What you're seeing here on the right is kind of a sample of what the admin or manager dashboard would look like, where you can see all of the top ambassadors as well as all of the top recruiters. And Amy, I know this is something that you are probably more familiar with your dashboard. Is there anything on this that you'd like to kind of explain a little bit more about?
I kind of annoyingly click in here probably twice a week, David, probably even more, because I want to see the progress. And it's so fun to watch that ambassador number grow. And I mean, sometimes you'll see the ambassador number grow like 100 in 2 weeks, and you get so excited. You're like, that's 100 more people out there marketing for us. And so we have made this platform really part of our performance management routines when it comes to working with our recruiters. And so we'll open up the dashboard, we'll take a look, but we also, part of our performance management 101s is to look at how many referrals did each recruiter get, and then talk about why did you only get 2, Jim Yoshimura? I think that you actually should not be leveraging the product as much as you should. I think you should be getting at least 2 a week, right? Not 2 in a month. And so we're just having those type of conversations from a recruiter productivity perspective. It's part of performance management, because this product, if you use it, will work. Now don't forget the if part. If you don't use it, if you're not posting links, if you're not responding to individuals coming in, then obviously the net result is not there. And I know, David, you alluded to, and I don't think I answered you, that we did set up a team member to do nothing but call the referrals the minute they hit our system and just touch base. They may not be the person that's placing this referral, but we wanted to make sure that Diversant reached out, because a referral is gold, right? So it might be just a quick touch base. Look at over all the jobs that we have, try to make the match and get that candidate, if they have not been called, out to our group of recruiters. And so I do see that team under Jim's tutelage getting even larger, because I think this product, we could, again, I keep telling opportunity for improvement. It's great, but I do think there's more we can do to leverage the ambassadors and the leads that are coming in.
The other thing I would note here is that above and beyond Amy's recruiters manually deciding to go ask for referrals, ask people they know and use the platform for that, because we've integrated it in our workflow. What happens is that every time an interview is successfully completed, right, the system automatically sends that candidate a request to become a brand ambassador. So at that point in time, then they get the request that's connected to a particular recruiter that got them the interview, and then they are invited to, refer their friends and refer their coworkers in right at that point in time. So by doing it that way, we are constantly increasing the flow, as I said earlier, of brand ambassadors, right? It's not just the same people the recruiter goes to over and over, because we're always expanding. And as Amy said, there are weeks it might go up 40 or 50 new brand ambassadors, because obviously if we've asked them to be a brand ambassador before, then we're not going to do that again. So there's some qualification criteria on it, but we are constantly adding a lot of new brand ambassadors and asking them for referrals automatically. All this is automated, and the candidate comes back, any potential candidate comes back to the recruiter. So it's this really closed loop system that we've implemented.
Yep. And Jim, you kind of took the next slide. I mean, one of the things oh no, you're great. That one of the things that I've been just impressed with Amy and Jim, out of all the partners we've worked with, is Jim's drive to make sure that we are automating all of the touch points, and as many of the touch points, and also measuring it effectively, which I think you're kind of talking about that there. But I think one of the reasons we've seen the success is you've really kind of mapped out what you needed internally, and even pushed us at times to make sure, hey, this needs to be automated, this needs to be this place, and here's the metrics we need to hit, which has been really, really great from a partnership perspective from our side as well. So.
On top of that, if you put too many manual steps in there, then hey, recruiters are busy talking to candidates and trying to make placements, right? I think if there's too many manual steps involving data entry and systems, then it just doesn't get done consistently.
Absolutely. The funny story is when we first built this, I think it was 2.5, 3 years ago now, but I initially planned on making a tool for recruiters that recruiters could go into every day, and very quickly learned that they do not need another tool to go into. So the entire premise now is that this all happens on the back end based off of work that either a marketing director or operations person is doing, or just directly through the ATS integration. So it's really just happens through the recruiter's daily workflow without them having to take any action outside of following up on the applicant lead, which is one key component. So jumping into the next category in terms of the candidate experience, I know this was kind of a big thing for you guys when you were looking at the platform. One of the areas that we actually came up with this just from interviewing candidates that were working for staffing agencies, asking them about their experience with referrals. Jim, you mentioned this earlier, but the thing that we heard This is actually, I think the first time I heard it was at TravCon at healthcare staffing with travel nurses. As they would say, "Oh, I referred my friend to this agency. 6 months later, I found out my friend's working there. I reached out for the referral bonus, and they told me they had no record of it and they weren't going to pay me. And now they've taken somebody who actually cared enough to refer their friend, and now that person's pissed off, not going to refer anybody, and has no interest in ever working with them again, and is talking badly about them." This is kind of part of the platform where we're providing transparency to the candidates and to the brand ambassadors so they can see exactly where their referrals are and the status and how much they're going to earn. And I don't know if Amy or Jim, if you guys had any comments on this as well.
Oh, which you want to go first? You want me to, Amy?
Go for it, Jim.
I'll say this. So I think in before we implemented this, what would happen is somebody would get a candidate referral. They'd interview the person, they put them in the database, right? And then maybe they didn't get placed. Well, maybe 3 months later, another recruiter finds the candidate, right? And they successfully place them. The problem is that if the recruiter didn't remember to indicate that was a referred candidate, then there's no way to tell that the candidate was referred by somebody who should then get paid, right? And so there were a lot of holes in the process. I mean, it worked perfectly if the recruiter who placed the candidate was the same one who got the referral, but once they go in that database, there was no way to tell. So one of the things we made sure we did here was that when the candidate comes in from the platform, it's automatically noted that it came from staffing referrals, right? And who the brand ambassador was, so we can track that placement. So when we get the placement, when we actually make the placement, we see that it came from a referral. We can track that back to the ambassador, and we've implemented a process to keep track of all those placements, and we pay them out. I think is it maybe 90 days or 60 days or something like that after the placement, right? But we can track the whole process. It's visible, and we don't lose track of the fact that this candidate came from an ambassador who referred, even though it wasn't the recruiter who originally brought the referral in. And that's really important because that's where the gap was before.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I think he covered it, David. I mean, the biggest thing is the truth and transparency. Because if you refer somebody and you never hear back, or that person doesn't get a call, and that's why we added the team member to make these phone calls. The candidate may get a phone call from the recruiter, and they may get a candidate call from our referral team, right? And that's okay. And we're saying, we're just really excited to talk to you. But that's just one piece. It's making sure that through the whole process that they know what's going on. And then don't pay a referral is the worst way to kill a referral program, right? So, we have a lot of steps that go in when we see the system is, obviously API'd into our ATS. So the good news is we see it, it's all connected, but we're still auditing it. We're still making sure, just because there's so many different things that can happen. We're calling the recruiter. This actually came in as a referral, because we do want to celebrate true results, truth and transparency, right? And give that truth and transparency back out to the community. And I'm sure anybody that's in the staffing world that's ever not paid a candidate or not done a great job with a referral, that does come back to haunt you. So I think this process has really helped us make sure that we are being truthful and transparent, but we also have management routines that are in place to make sure that we're paying everyone effectively and that we're following up on these. So that's a big part of this.
Yeah, and Amy, to that point, I mean, one of the cool things is that it's holding the agency accountable, and it's also gamifying in a pretty meaningful way for the ambassador. And what we've heard from a lot of agencies is that they're like, the people who are already referring are just now referring more people because they can go in and see, oh wow, I'm going to earn this much. Like now I can actually track all of this and I can see the status, and that status is automatically updated from the ATS. So it's been a cool component for it as well.
The other part about
it's not just the financial piece, and we've learned that. And a lot of I've dealt with referrals in my career more than once, believe it or not. And we've talked about, do we even need to pay people, right? So that's been part of the discussion, because just the value of them referring and the person goes to work, they should just be excited for that, right? Well, I always say money does help in these situations, kind of drive the behavior. So we do believe in the financial aspect and the gamification and the transparency. And I think when you do all of those three things is where you truly have success.
I think the other thing too is that, a lot of times, especially as companies get bigger, right? If you were going to ask 6 different recruiters, right, what's the referral program and how much you're paying and everything like that, you might get 6 different answers. And we certainly had that
Yeah.
challenge too, right? And
Yeah.
because especially you hire a lot of new people, everything like that. But because this is all done through a platform, and we use the platform, whether the candidate came in because of the automated interview process or because the recruiter manually asked for the referral, because we use the platform to track it that way too. At the end of the day, there's one place where they see what the referral program is, right? And they see the amounts and they see the criteria, because we have some criteria on as well too. But it's all public and it's in one place and it's consistent. And we don't have recruiters telling different candidates different things because they misunderstood it or wasn't communicated, or we made a change, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was important too. And the funny thing is that, like I said, especially when you work in a bigger company, if you're not careful, people started communicating all these different referral programs that they thought were in effect. It might have been in effect 2 years ago. They just never got the news it changed, right?
Yeah, and to that point, Jim, we actually had a client he said that he's like, even if I didn't get a single additional referral, just to have it standardized and know who I'm paying and what to pay, that alone is worth it. So it can be pretty valuable on that front as well. One other component that we do in terms of improving the candidate experience, this is really on the ambassador side, is we just make it as simple as possible for ambassadors to be able to refer their friends in. We give them the ability to refer via email or phone if they do know that information. If they don't know their friend's email, they can connect to Gmail and just grab any of their contacts directly from Gmail to refer through that way. Or as I mentioned earlier with the story with my friend, they can grab that unique link, share it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, they can put in blogs, wherever, and they will get credit for every person that applies through their unique link. So we really just make it as easy as possible for everybody to share out as well. So jumping in kind of the second half of this, Jim, you had some interesting stats when you're looking at the analysis of redeployed and referrals. I would love to just hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. And just FYI, I mentioned the second half. We've only got 15 minutes left, so we're going to have to pick the pace up here a little bit, right? So this was really kind of a separate thing, but one of our teams did an analysis on candidates that we placed because they were either referred or redeployed candidates, which if you're in this business, you know how important those are too. But the commonality between redeployed and referred candidates is they're a much higher quality candidate than ones you simply find on a job board that you don't know, because we know something about these candidates, right? So we went back and looked at our productivity when it was a referred or a redeployed candidate versus just the rest of the population. And what we found out is that our success at placing these candidates, i.e. the submit to fill ratio, right? How many candidates does it take to submit to make a placement, was 3 to 4 times less for redeployed and referred candidates than just someone that we just picked off of a social media or a job board that we didn't know anything about. So basically you're saying you only have to submit 1/3 as many candidates this way as you would normally.
I think it's pretty powerful, and in IT, we're seeing placement rates of 3 to 4 times of what you would normally see in a job board. In healthcare, we're seeing it upwards of 17x what you would get on a job board. So it really does depend on the vertical, but you can see that it just can save recruiters quite a bit of time. And then Amy, you had I know you had reached out to recruiters to get feedback on the tool, and just love to hear some more comments on that.
Yeah, I think, I mentioned it earlier. I surveyed about 10 of the top 10 producers, and bottom line, it's one platform. And so they don't have to worry about going to emails or texts or trying to find the information, right? It's all contained into one set email. And then, we use harvesters in our ATS. And so the system also is what they refer to, which I thought was a great quote, is that it's actually harvesting referrals for me at all times. I don't have to do anything. I sit back as a recruiter and I let this tool harvest candidates for me. And how awesome is that? Because the referrals, which again, we know are gold in the staffing industry. And so again, the feedback has just been amazing from both the candidate side as well as the recruiter side. And so the recruiters are telling me too that the referred candidates and the ambassadors are telling them it's just an easy product to use. And that's what you want. You want something that's simple. They click a button. And anyone that's on this call, please, join my LinkedIn network, and you can see I'm constantly resharing a lot of my recruiters' posts. And I've shared some this morning that have the referral link right at the bottom. So you can kind of see how easy it is. They've added it to their LinkedIn profile. So that anytime they post, they're saying, hey, refer a friend. This is our program. And so it's constantly being out there marketed. And then they sit back and let the referrals come in, right? And so I wish I could read 10 quotes, but I think I'd bore you. But they were pretty amazing, the quotes that I did receive from the recruiter group.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. And now to the last section. So we were way past the second half there, Jim. So we're good to go. So the last section is how you can successfully implement new staffing software. And I would just Jim and Amy are experts at this and have done a more thorough, detailed job of this than most clients I've worked with. And I've just been really impressed with working with your team. And I think everybody in the audience could probably learn from you guys on how you did that. So if either of you want to kind of jump in here and talk about your process, I think that'd be super valuable for the audience.
I'm going to start this off. I'm going to turn over to Amy. And really, I had a team that really went out to go find the software alternatives and to present them to the recruiting team. But I'm a big believer that when you want to implement a new technology, it has to be owned by the business that it's there to support for, right? And if they don't buy into the justification for it and the need it's solving, if they don't buy into the selection process, they've got to be part of the selection process. If they don't buy into using this, making it part of their standard process and having it be something that's driven by management, in Amy's case, from herself to her recruiting directors down to the staff on a regular basis, then it's going to fail, right? It's either going to fail because you don't implement it correctly, or it's going to fail because it's going to be another fad that you go out and you buy some software for, and it sounds good, but because the business didn't own it, the business didn't embed it in their process, right? They were even part of the testing too, which is critical. But we just said, we're not going to do anything unless the business, in this case recruiting, own the whole process from end to end. And we'll guide the process to make sure we don't skip any steps. We test things thoroughly. I think, Amy, we went through 2 or 3 rounds of testing, right? For example, before we released, we had a pilot team because we wanted to make sure that before we rolled it out, it was bulletproof or as much as we could make it. And so I give all the kudos to Amy and her management being dedicated to it, and just maybe a small amount of credit to the team that found it to just keep saying, no, we're not doing anything unless you guys own it. So.
And I think the key is not just to buy the platform, and I've talked about that throughout this presentation. It is the management routines are part of it, as well as continuous learning. And what I mean by that, and it's on the slide, I know, but we actually did the official training with David's team. We probably did that 2 or 3 times because we wanted to show different parts of there's templates that you can use. There's a lot of pieces and parts to this product that folks need to learn. And we know adult learners do not learn everything in one 45-minute session, right? I'm an adult learner. You're going to have to teach me something at least 3 times. And so we made sure in our learning that not only did we have David and team from the staffing referral side train our team, but we in the pilot, we had 3 individuals that really stood out as subject matter experts. And so we did a training. We had those 3 individuals really lead and guide the training on how they were using the product. And I think not only does your team do a great job from a training perspective, David, but I think having the SMEs, the subject matter experts from the recruiting side, speaking to their peers, saying, this is how I use this. These are the templates. And they were showing like even their recruiter page. I think that was hugely beneficial on the front end, and kind of reminds me, we probably need to do that again with some new hires that we've had in the last 60, 90 days, making sure that we're taking that training and sending it back out to them to learn from the SMEs also.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amy, I don't even know if we've announced this too, but we now have a weekly recruiter training every Thursday. So you can throw any of your team on that if you'd like.
I know that. Okay.
But I also, Amy's team just did Amy and Jim, an unbelievable job of training the team. And I think the one thing I would just add is we've implemented this with, the thousands of recruiters. And what we've seen is that unless you get the right people in place and bought in ahead of time, it's just, it's like you can go buy the best gym membership in the world. If you never show up, you're not going to lose any weight. It's got there is, while we all want the buy it, the silver bullet, this can be super impactful, but there is a little bit of effort that goes into it. And there has to be a commitment from the leadership team on that front. So I think the engaging business leaders is a key component of that.
But by the way, I am planning on using the 5 gym memberships I currently have.
So the that kind of wraps it up for what we had for a presentation and opens it up for Q&A. I appreciate all of you joining today. I've got Amy and Jim's contact information here on the slide, also mine as well. If you'd like to schedule a demo, you can do that with the QR code. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those into the chat, and we can.
I think there was one there, David, you didn't answer, which is, can the software be used for healthcare staffing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we actually healthcare staffing is where we started. So my background was actually at Travelers Haven, and then came over and started this. And we've had a lot of success in the travel nurse segment, per diem segment, and more recently with locum tenens. So it can absolutely be used on the healthcare side of the business as well. Are there any other questions anybody wants to drop into chat?
There were a couple questions on referral fees, and I think every company's unique. And, it's not just the company, it's the skill sets and how much margin you're making and how much you're paying people. So it's all kind of unique. For us, it was a question of standardizing it and making sure it was a consistent message. And we know we're going to change it, right? We made it simple to start with. We just decided to be one fee for all skill sets. We know we're going to change that over time because it's not going to make sense to pay that. But we said, to start this out, let's not overcomplicate it. Right. And down the road, if we need to change it, we can change it. But when we do, it's in one place, right? It's all the systems the policies are documented in one place. So when we make that change, it'll be a consistent message that goes out, not just to our recruiters, but to all the brand ambassadors and candidates as well, too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think simplifying it was really big, Jim. And I reflect on building a referral program before, and we did tiered pricing basically, or tiered referral fees. And it just became so confusing. And you're like, well, why are we putting more value on this title than this title? And I think the way we rolled it out with the dual bonus as well as the fee structure just made it easy. And so, David, to your point, going back and asking 6 recruiters, what is your referral policy? And everybody tells you something different. That can hurt you as an organization, not having a common operating model when it comes to referrals. And so I think what the platform not only did for us, giving us the platform, an online platform, but it also gave us that consistency when it comes to fees. I think that was a big deal.
Yeah, and on the referral fees, we do have some benchmarks that we're pulling together across all of the different campaigns in our platform and are able to provide as well. So we can tell you by vertical what the different bonuses are. And I would second Amy and Jim's comment on simplifying it. A lot of agencies want to pay 20 different referral fees based on every job. And while that makes sense from a recruiter standpoint, where the commissions are different, when it comes to communicating about your referral program or an ambassador understanding what they're going to get paid out and what they're actually doing, it can make it a little bit complicated, and I can think it make it a little bit harder to actually move the needle. So yeah.
Amy, somebody asked, what suggestions will we give to a recruiter to have a good submission rate to clients?
Well, to be frank, and I'm a big believer in this, it's not just using one source. And so, you might be a huge LinkedIn fan, and I think that's great, right, from a source of hire, but it's making sure that you're using everything. And that's the one thing with this. When we look at performance management, Jim, we look at source of hire by recruiter, and we say, okay, you had a great placement month, but you had no referrals. So that speaks to something. It speaks to your candidate experience. It speaks to, are you leveraging the tool? And so, to me, that's my greatest recruiting tip is, just because you have a lot of success with one tool, that does not make a full life cycle recruiting process work, right? You've got to be making sure that you're touching everything that you have at your disposal.
Absolutely. And it looks like we are just about 2 minutes out. If there are no other questions, I think we can go ahead and close it up for the day. But Amy and Jim, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for all of the comments and effort that you guys put into this. I really appreciate it. And for all of you on the call, thanks for joining. If you have questions, feel free to reach out directly to any of us. And I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good day.